This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
War Eagle Auburn fans, welcome to No Huddle, your source for Auburn football news and discussion, part of the E2C Network. I'm AJ Richardson, and I'm also here with Jared Davis. It is time to talk about the Hilltoppers, and particularly Auburn being the Hilltoppers, or whatever that mascot was. I saw Auburn made fun of it as a red Skittle or a red M&M or something, and I was like, that's hilarious. It really does look like that. So, but we ended up winning 41-17. Despite even at halftime, it was 17-17, and it looked like the Hilltoppers were getting some momentum. But Auburn, in true fashion, I love it. You scare us a little bit, and then we do what we should have done from the very get-go and just put them away. And we put them away for sure in that fourth quarter. Jared, we just won 2 straight games. How do we react to this? It's been so long.
Impossible, you say. 2 games in a row. I think I saw where Cadillac has tied Harson's winning streak while he was at Auburn.
No way.
It was 2 in a row, the most he did. I think so. That's what somebody said.
Wow.
So kudos to Cadillac. And he's only been doing it for 3 weeks. Yeah, and you think about it, I mean, it could have easily been 3 in a row. So
it easily could have been.
Yeah,
and
that's pretty cool.
Hey, don't hold your breath too much, but Bama team coming up, they're not invincible.
Oh,
so.
Are you forecasting a prediction here, AJ?
You'll have to wait and see in our next podcast.
Okay.
Teaser.
Right. Yeah. I am on pins and needles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. And as far as the Hilltopper mascot, I don't know. My sons were asking me, they're young, and I'm like, I don't know either. Like, they're like, what is a Hilltopper? I was like, I'm sure there's something to that, but I have no idea what it is.
I have no idea either.
Yeah.
It just looks like a red blob that has this like squished face.
Yeah, their actual mascot is, it's like a red blob of energy is what it is, I think. But yeah, I don't know. So it's interesting mascot. And we had watched a little bit of the Georgia Kentucky game, and my mom noticed their helmets, and then Western Kentucky. I think they may be the only 2 teams in America that have like that chrome plated helmet.
Yeah.
So not that any of this matters, but we're just making weird observations here, AJ. That's what we're doing. So
I mean, we got to point it out.
Both
because
Kentucky
the Hilltoppers,
and Kentucky.
The Hilltoppers are. It's just a weird. Like, people make fun of us being the War Eagles or the Tigers as well, and you're like, what are you saying? Like, no, guys, we only have one mascot here. Okay,
yeah.
Stop it. Just stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
I still get that all the time being in Georgia, but it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about kind of what this means. So now we're 5-6, which for a moment there, we were all saying 3-6, and we were like, oh my, like we might legitimately have as bad of a season as that 2012 season. And Cadillac has turned this around for this Auburn team, and really for the fan base, which is I think for a lot of us a good thing to kind of unite us all. And I mean, you even saw it. We beat the Hilltoppers, and there were so many fans at the end of the game in the freezing 30 or 40 degree weather out there still celebrating with this team. Like, that doesn't happen anywhere else in college football. I mean, did you see the Texas A&M fans? All 15 of them in the stands.
It was 40 degrees and raining. That's what their fans are saying. So
I don't care. It was freezing. I don't care. Like, you gotta show up for your team.
Their new stadium. Their stadium should say "Home of the 12th Man" unless it's below 40 and sprinkling.
And then we might show the 12th man, which is only literally 12 men in the stands.
Yeah, maybe that's what they meant by it. I don't know.
Maybe.
Look, I've never in my life. If you haven't seen the stands at the Texas A&M game, go Google that. I mean, it literally was nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about fans leaving, and you still got 40,000. Like, they had,
right.
I don't know if they had 1,000. I mean, it was that crazy.
Yeah. And what's hilarious about that? the stadium announcer apparently announced that there were 90,000 tickets sold. And you're like, 90,000? Are you kidding me right now? Like, they announced the stadium today is 90,000. You're like, no, it wasn't. Like, not even in one moment was there 90,000 fans that checked their, scanned in to get their tickets. Like, no way. Which again is kind of like coming back to Auburn, showing, how much of this, getting behind Cadillac, this team being rejuvenated means so much. And just because they have, Jimbo over there doesn't mean the fans are going to show up. But you get somebody like Cadillac, he's galvanized this team together and helped this fan base get back into it, which I think is equally as important. Because I was even thinking back, Jared, thinking back to Harsin when he got hired. You and I, like, we barely knew hardly anything about Harsin. We just knew, he's from Boise State. He's got a good record. I didn't know much about him. I didn't even know what kind of offense he ran. Like, we had to look up that. And that kind of, obviously has transitioned into, wow, the program, after he came to Auburn is in a worse shape than it was when he came. And then Cadillac is like, man, I love Auburn so much. And he brings it back. He brings everybody back into loving Auburn again. And I think that's just something really cool. Another kind of cool thing about Cadillac, the running back that he is, here's a really cool stat. Over, him being a head coach, in the last, 3 games now, or 2 games. He's only been 2 games, right? Yeah. No, yeah. 3 games.
He's done three
yeah.
games.
There have now been 5 100-yard rushers, which I think is incredible. And previous 8 games have only had 2 100-yard rushers. And to me, that's telling me, wow, we've really committed to that run, which what were we kind of promised at the very beginning of the season? That we're going to run the ball. And we didn't get a lot of that this year until Cadillac came on the scene. And, oh, man, we have run the ball. And it has been a beautiful thing with Robbie, Jarquez, and Hunter, and Tank. So, like, man, how much have you loved watching us just run the ball and run it pretty efficiently against some teams that they're not necessarily known for? I don't know. Like, we've done pretty good against it.
Yeah. I mean, you're seeing what you should do as a coach. You get the ball in your best playmaker's hands, and you do it as often as possible, and good things will happen. I mean, look, last night in the first half, it wasn't great. I mean, we were doing okay offensively, but even the touchdown drives we had, we were having to, convert on third and maybe even a fourth down every now and then. So we were having to earn it, right? It wasn't great. We weren't manhandling them. Guess what? Come out in the second half, you could have panicked. You could have gone to the passing game. That's what Harsin would have done, and we didn't. We stuck with the run. We kept getting the ball in Tank's and Jarquez's hands, and both of them had 40-plus yard runs. And if you don't keep feeding them, they probably don't have those runs.
Right.
And so that's why we have said it for 2 years. You put the ball in your playmakers' hands as much as possible because they will make plays.
Right. And it's just a matter of time. Like, to me, I was looking at it and saying, all right, we have, like, to me, it's an obvious we have more talent than Western Kentucky. It's just a matter of time before we start beating down their defense. And those big runs start happening. And towards the end of the game, that's when it started happening. Tank would have a run that would go for a long, he would score a touchdown. Jarquez would next drive do the same thing. And, to me, that's just saying, we're putting the ball in their playmakers' hands, but it's also the kind of mentality I feel like for the offensive line, like, we're going to be running the ball a lot. So they're able to set that mindset of, we're just going to manhandle the defensive line. And that's what they're able to do. They open up some great holes for our running backs, and the rest is history. We made some great plays in that game. And one of those plays I wanted to point out was that halfback pass. So I'm sure you've probably seen, but that was kind of the same play that we did with Cadillac back in 2004. But another kind of fun tidbit there, Will Friend was at Georgia, the team we were doing against, back in 2004 as well. So it's pretty it's pretty cool, to tie all of that back where, we do that with Jarquez Hunter, passing it to Coy Moore, and it was successful. I
But
mean, that's just so cool.
that's funny. Um, whoever the new head coach is, his first call to players needs to be to Jarquez. Like, hey, we're cool, right? Like,
Right.
you're staying at Auburn, right? I mean, that guy is just effortlessly avoids tackles. Like,
Yeah.
it's like hard to bring him down, and I don't understand it. I think it's the way he probably shifts his body as he's taking on contact. But even that run that he did, it was almost like he was waiting on, and this isn't a knock on Shanker because he's done really well, but he was like waiting on Shanker to block, and Shanker did not, and he said, "All right, I'll just do this myself," and he like juked around some guys and took it to the house.
Yeah.
And he had what I thought one of the coolest plays. I know this is kind of weird, but it just shows you how they're good teammates. Quez had a play where he was the lead blocker out to get Tank on a big run. And so
Yeah.
you just like to see him doing that work to help out. He could easily be like, man, this isn't me getting the ball. I'm just gonna mail it in. No, he was out there. He sealed the edge off for Tank to take off. So
Yeah, that's cool to see. I mean, it just kind of reminds me of, back in the days when we would watch, like I would particularly watch wide receivers, making sure on running plays, obvious running plays are the wide receivers setting the edge, blocking their guy so that, a speed sweep or whatever, if the run comes to the outside, we got open field. And it's kind of that same thing with Jarquez. Jarquez, if he didn't make those type of blocks, I mean, we may not have had, the success when Tank's running the ball.
I just like what I like not only is sticking to the run, but the variety. I feel like everything
Yeah.
with Harsin and them was the same type running play, and I mean we're doing all types of things. We're getting on the edge, tall sweeps, tons of different things that are working, and I don't know where that was before now.
Right.
Um,
Because I was also thinking, like, I can't imagine them being able to install all of that in simply 3 weeks. Like, I'm sure they had practiced it probably even since maybe even spring practice. Like, these have been plays. Like, you don't just pull out a play and say, all right, we're practicing it for a week and we're going to run it and be super successful with it. No, you practice these plays spring practice, fall practice, and during the season until you're ready to debut it in the game. So, like, why didn't we do that previously? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. And I mean, just the halftime adjustments, AJ.
Yeah.
I mean, for a year and a half, we watched games where if we went in we went in with the lead, but much less 17-17, you had zero hope they were coming out in the second half and
Yeah.
would take over that game. And I mean, Mississippi State, we're down, we come in, we take the lead with a minute left.
Mm-hmm.
A&M was the one where we didn't really improve in the second half, but we kept doing what we were doing, right?
Yeah.
And then this game, 17-17, I'll admit I was nervous. And
Yeah.
we made adjustments. We came out and we, put 41 up on the board. So it's
Right.
just real exciting to see second half adjustments.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Like one of the interviews, I think it was with Cadillac, he was asked, "Hey, what did y'all do in the second half? What did you tell your team?" And he was about to come in and he said it was some of the senior leaders like Derek Hall were essentially kind of taking over the room and said, "Guys, we're not playing Auburn football." And so to me, there's kind of this like the coach recognizing he could say the most beautiful, eloquent halftime speech of all time, and that's not going to motivate the players as good as the senior leader Derek Hall or the other seniors coming up and saying, "Guys, this is senior night. Like this is our last game in Jordan Hare. We got to win, and we have to show out and play like Auburn." And to me, like that's a recognition from Cadillac that he can't be perfect and he can't do it all. And he's saying, I'm going to let other people do it. And to me, that shows a lot of maturity. And I love that out of him.
Yeah, and Derek Hall's a good one to kind of lean on with that, isn't he?
Oh, gosh, yes. I mean, I think he's going to have a great career in the NFL, but he has also a fantastic press conference. Like, if you want to go listen to some good press conference, literally just go listen to Derek Hall's.
So He's up for some kind of man of the year that they do in college football. I was unaware of. He's a finalist.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
he's got it all. So I feel like Auburn, especially on defense, tends to have at least like one of those players that is just like an all around kind of really great person, player, academics, everything. And so, I mean, to me, that's Derek Hall for this team. All right. So let's talk a little bit about kind of what we ended up doing with even Robbie and some of the wide receivers this game. Robbie didn't have his best game, but I mean, he kind of did what he had to. He was 8 of 19, didn't turn the ball over, and that's about all we could do. That's about all we could ask for. I think one of the announcers had said Western Kentucky had caused other teams to turn over the ball like 30 times in a game or in the season already, and Auburn was like, we're gonna secure the ball and not turn the ball over. And we literally had one fumble. I think that was like an exchange or something like that. Besides that, our team looked very flawless when it came to those type of things. But when it came to wide receivers, we had some issues. It kind of hurt me a little bit, especially with Shedrick Jackson a couple times. I mean, he had that long, beautiful pass to him, and it just dropped. And I was like, dang it. Like, how cool would that have been? One of his last games where he just catches this long, deep ball and he's wide open. And you're just like, oh, man. So tough.
yeah, it was hard. Shed had that. I felt like I don't know what to think about Robbie because I do feel like when Harsin was here, Robbie was a better passer. If I'm being honest, I feel like that part of the game was better.
I agree.
Although he did it more, so maybe he got in a rhythm more. But like there were times where he could have rolled. There was a play where he could have ran and got the first down. He decided to dump it out to Jarquez, which was not a terrible play, except he threw it 10 yards over Jarquez's head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, how do you like? I don't know. Like I don't know how you. Like I'm not skilled enough to ever be an SEC quarterback, but once you are, I don't know how you don't make those passes. I guess is what I'm getting at. On the other hand, he made one that live it looked like, oh, well, that was just tough play, yada yada yada. But he put one in a great spot for Shanker in the end zone that hit his hands. Yeah. So that was a pass that probably Shanker should have caught.
Yeah.
Shed should have caught one. He had a good one to JJ where they called the targeting, which was not. That was a good call to pull that back.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
kudos to JJ for hanging on to that ball.
That
was a good pass by Robbie. I was watching our team, the way we're running right now, I was like, man, if we had a quarterback that was a legit threat, not a knock on Robbie, he's a gamer and his legs help us a lot. But I'm like, if we had a legit threat at passing, we could be dangerous.
Yeah. Well, you're kind of saying, I mean, yeah, Robbie kind of keeps the defense a little off balance, but imagine having a passer like, I mean, I hate to do it, and people may cringe a little, but like think about Bo Nix. Like, what about if Bo Nix could do that? Like, he was passing better.
I can't believe I'm saying this. Will Friend calling an offense with Bo Nix, I would actually think we would have a chance going into Tuscaloosa next week.
Yeah.
The way they're calling this offense right now, I just think it could be pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's crazy because Will Friend was an offensive line coach. And the O-line's playing better.
Mm-hmm.
They did not start the game out better, but they again, second half adjustments, they came out and played much better in the second half.
Yeah, and I was going to say that's even with some of these offensive linemen still shifting around.
Yeah, we lost one or two in the game, but they at least came out a couple of plays. I mean, the whole unit's just playing better. They did not do great the first half, but the second half, much, much better, and they've been much better since the change was made. So I think it's an effort thing, AJ. I just think it's an effort thing, and the players would never say they weren't giving 100%. I don't even know if they don't realize they weren't. The subconscious mind's a strong thing.
Right.
I think that they are just giving better effort now. Yeah. I think they have probably gone to Robbie. So let's give Robbie a little credit here. I think they've probably gone to Robbie and said, we can live with the 50% completion percentage.
Yes.
Just don't turn it over.
Yes. I bet they've come to him and said that. Like, we don't need you to be an 80% passer, even a 60% passer. Just keep them a little honest.
Don't turn the ball.
Yeah, don't turn the ball over. And guess what? Robbie has done so much better. I mean, he's had his moments. Yeah, we had his complaints, but like he hasn't turned the ball over, and that's what I mean by he's done better. So from that perspective, all right, let's shift a little bit and talk about defense. This defense in the first half, especially towards the end of the first half, got me a little scared, thinking, wow, because it's always one of those things where an air raid offense like Western Kentucky, they're going to, if they're on a roll, they're going to be completing 4, 5, 6, 7 catches in a row, and that's hard to stop. But I mean, overall, that defense shut them down. So kind of put in perspective, the passing percentage for this team was 28 of 59. So under 50% passing completion. Whereas you compare that to their average, their average completion over this whole year has been 67 or 68%. So our pass defense, they came to play. And Western Kentucky, they had the fourth best passing offense in the nation. So they're no slouch. And yet our defenders, secondary, we're on their guy. And even though I don't think we recorded as many stats as we'd hoped to with sacks and QB rushes as we'd probably hoped, there were still enough to kind of, get in the head of that quarterback. And he pretty much second half was ineffective. So again, second half, those adjustments made by that senior leadership, they did not play around. They came to shut them down in that second half, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we said it was Rich McGlynn that decided what coaches stayed and didn't, and you got to give him props because I mean he could have easily gotten rid of Schmedding as well. I mean I think that was probably the fan favorite, like, hey, get rid of everybody that came over with Harsin, and he did.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know this is a broken record at this point, but it's just amazing how much better the defense is playing. I think it was a wise decision to keep Schmedding. He's making second half adjustments. And, to give Schmedding credit, not to knock any individual player, but, I mean, DJ James, he should have had an interception on that last drive. So, I mean, if we intercept that ball, they don't go down and score right before half.
Yeah.
So, that's not a coaching thing, really. So, they probably only end the game with 10 points. But DJ made up for it in the fourth quarter with that beautiful catch
for
touchdown.
So much redemption. And for him, he's played his guts out this whole year. I mean, he's honestly probably my favorite secondary player on this Auburn team. And for him to finally get that interception, that's the kind of thing where like all that hard work is paying off. I mean, and for, top that off with returning it for a pick six. I mean, like, I don't know if you can get much better than that.
Yeah, he redeemed himself in a big way, and I agree. I think I know I knocked him for dropping that interception, but I think you and I've been on the record saying he's probably becoming, if not already, the best DB on the team. So I'm a huge DJ James fan. I just I don't know what Schmedding's really doing. I don't know. Our linebackers are tackling better. I know they had a couple of decent runs, but I mean, at the end of the day, they're just playing better as a unit, and maybe it just goes back to effort again. I don't know, but it's definitely a whole different ball game than what we've been used to seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, Jalen Simpson, who's also been one of my favorite secondary players, he got an interception.
He got a pick. Yep, sure did.
So, I mean, there were so many times where I was like, wow, we actually can, it is Western Kentucky. Like, I know, like, I'm trying to kind of keep
but
that.
But they're a good team, dude. Like, they're actually, I mean, they're not a bad, I'm not, look, we need to get Auburn to a status to where we're not having to say this, but at the end of the day, the team we have this year, which has been struck, Western Kentucky actually scared me. Like, I was literally like, I would not be surprised if they beat us.
Right. Well, and we were only, I think, at game time, like a 5.5 point favorite over them. Yeah. That shows you, and to me, that's really field position plus a little bit that, Vegas favored us, which to me, that says this is a decent team.
They are a decent team. And to be able to put, like I was thinking about it today, I said, we are not good this year, and we beat a non-conference non-Power 5 team 41-17. I'm like, that's
Mm-hmm.
what Auburn should be. And
Absolutely.
you feel like we might be getting back to that a little bit of like, okay, look, even when we're not having good years, we should be able to put non-Power 5 teams away.
Right. Well, and
And
you look back early in the season where we're playing San Jose State and we only beat them
we could put them
24-16.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, I think that game right last night could have easily gone that way if we don't have the coaches that are actually making adjustments, during
Yeah.
the game. So yeah, I mean, it could. I mean, it was 17-17 and a half. So that was all. Not all coaching. That was effort. It's getting the guys to believe and play and stick with the plan and stuff like that. So I don't know. It just. I thought about it today. I said, Auburn should be a team that even when they have a bad year, they put away the bad teams.
Right. No, they really should. They have the capability and they have the talent to do so. I did want to point out on defense a couple of pretty cool sacks towards the end of the game that probably get a little overlooked. Dylan Brooks, he's a redshirt freshman edge rusher for us. He got his first sack as an Auburn Tiger. I loved it. Love to see the new guys, especially just knowing Derek Hall is going to be moving on, Ekuliota as well. So, yeah, just a glimpse of the future for our edge rushers.
Did he get the first one? Because we celebrated two there at the end, like the whole team. Was he the guy that got the first one?
There was another one. It was Hayden Bryce, and that was one of the very last. I think it was the last sack of the game.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's a senior, and I mean, honestly, I didn't even know his name. And so that kind of shows you, like, he was kind of further down the depth chart, but he got that shot at the end of the game, and he made it worth it. And man, I just love it when on that senior day when everybody's getting recognized, he gets to make his play. Man, it's just so sweet. It really is.
Well, I saw that. So somebody made a sack on that last drive, and the team was going bananas, and I couldn't make out the name, and I'm guessing that was Brooks. And then, yeah, like the last play of the game for defense, somebody else got a sack, and you could tell that guy was probably a guy that didn't play a lot. So that was just cool to see the team celebrating them.
It really is. It's pretty cool to see those kind of stories come to life. All right, so let's talk a little bit about special teams and kind of wrap things up for this game. Special teams, we had a perfect game from Alec McPherson. He was 2 for 2 for field goals, made a 51-yarder, and that was early in the game, and a 28-yarder as well. He also made all 5 of his point after attempts. He was having a good day, and I love to see that. I think his confidence, and I think he even said it, is building with every kick. And that's something good for Auburn's kind of future. Because kind of the way we've handled Alex McPherson, because we have had Anders for most of the season, Alex is still going to be able to use his red shirt. So next year, he'll still be a redshirt freshman. And so hypothetically, we're going to have him for another 4 years. So the future is bright for our kicking team. I mean, we talk about defensive backs. We talk about good running backs. Pretty unsung heroes are the kickers. I mean, even think about Daniel Carlson still. He's in the NFL doing things that a lot of kickers just can only dream of. And so Alex McPherson may be that next kicker for us and continue that legacy of just being a great Auburn kicker. A couple other notes. We had Evan McGuire. He's the lefty kicker. He was doing kickoffs again. Seemed to do a good job. I feel like his leg still isn't – he's not getting it all the way to the end zone every time. But our kickoff return team has been great. So, I mean, I guess it's working. And then punt returners. So I kind of noticed this. It was kind of interesting. We had a couple different punt returners. We had Keontae Scott, who's kind of been our normal guy, number 6, returning punts. He got an 18-yard, very sneaky. It almost looked like he probably could have fair caught it. And maybe the kickoff team or the punt team thought he did, and he just kind of like scooted right past them and got a pretty decent return. And then we also had Daslin Worsham. He was the guy I think last week we used a lot in punt return. So pretty cool to see a new guy out there. And he also looked like he could make a move and get up to that top speed, which is a couple big characteristics that you look for with the punt returner. So pretty cool there. I think overall, I mean, Jared, to get 2 straight wins, especially for Cadillac and this team at the end of the season in Jordan-Hare, I mean, I think it just says a lot that this team's resilience, and particularly, I mean, we haven't even hit on this, but with it being senior night, 23 seniors, and plus, I think Colby Wooden also joined them as a redshirt junior on senior day, so he's probably going to the NFL. But you just see so much resilience out of these seniors. A lot of them have gone through, what is this, it's probably their 3rd coach at Auburn. I mean, there's just a lot that they've had to battle, and you can see them sticking it out. And especially in the day, think about this, Jared, in the day where you can, literally just say, I'm entering the transfer portal, you can get picked up by another team in a heartbeat if you're a good player. These players, a lot of them stuck it out, or they were in the transfer portal. We picked them up, and they have loved it. I mean, think about Eku Leota, for example, coming from a Northwestern, a guy that, had showed some promise even at Northwestern, but the last couple of seasons, he has really become one of the top pass rushers for Auburn. And I love that. So, and that's just, picking out an example of that. But Jared, what's kind of your thoughts on, how this senior leaders, have kind of really helped this team, especially in these crazy times of, firing a coach mid-season?
Yeah, I mean, we've had it's a really good senior class. Your Derek Halls and your Shankers and Shed Jackson, and I feel bad for them because there's been very few senior people who didn't experience really big highs at Auburn. I mean, it's very rare that we go 4 or 5 years and not have a run at really the SEC.
Yeah.
And these guys most likely probably didn't get to be a part of that. They went through coaching changes, as you talked about. They dealt with COVID. So, it was a lot. And every team dealt with COVID, but not every team was dealing with coaching changes. And when you're changing coaches, you're not winning a lot of games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these guys stuck with us even in an era where the transfer portal became a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Derek Hall could have gone anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Colby Wooden could have gone anywhere, and almost did probably. And I think he got taught back in to stay in.
Even Tank too.
Tank could have gone anywhere. I mean, so these guys, I think when we look back, we'll look back on, fondness of all these guys because they really could have left Auburn in a really big hole, even though we feel like we're in one now. It could have been worse.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys deserve a lot of credit. Hopefully they'll always get, a nice round of applause when they come back to campus.
Yeah.
And looking forward to seeing what they do. I think several of these guys can definitely go pro. Some of them will probably get into coaching, and maybe one day they'll be doing what Cadillac's doing right now.
That would be so cool. Just imagine, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, Derek Hall is our interim. How
yeah,
cool
I mean, I
is
could
that
absolutely
gonna be?
see. Yeah, I could see Derek Hall being a coach.
Yeah, a defensive line coach. Oh my gosh.
I mean, the thing about Derek Hall is, you watch basketball, he's at every game. I mean, he just loves Auburn. He's at every game. Games he doesn't have, games that don't matter. He's at those games. He's not at the ones that are, big time. He's not like Kentucky on a Saturday. He's at Texas Southern, And did you see him dig up a part of the field?
Oh yeah, love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the field crew was like, "Why did you do
landscape
that?" But I don't blame them.
But yeah, that was a cool moment. And who's going to tell Derek Hall no, right? Yeah. So that was cool. But yeah, it's going to be sad to see them go. And we got one more game with them. Yep. Maybe we'll have 2. You never know. Yeah. Derek, honestly, if I was advising Derek Hall, I'd say don't play in a bowl game. But he's the type of guy that may come out and play in a bowl game.
I think he's going to play. He has, to me, kind of that heart that I think back to Derek Hall and Derek Brown and Marlon Davidson. Both of them. I think he's going to play. Regardless of what he's advised on, he's going to say, this is my team. I'm finishing them out. I'm finishing it out. I'm going to do it. But
I could definitely see him doing it. I would not fault him, and if I was advising him, I would probably advise him not to. But
yeah,
if he does it, that'll be even another cool thing about his history at Auburn.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Jared, how can the people stay in touch with you?
You can find me on Facebook under my name, Jared Davis.
And you can find me on Twitter at AJAY_. It's always great to be an Auburn Tiger and War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.